Lived Experiences is bringing a new social innovation program into the community. Something that's really unheard of, that we really need in our community. I started this program because of my own experience in life. And I wasn't educated. I was very disconnected from my own family, from my own community, and even from the whole system itself, Oceanside itself. The whole idea is to bring as much wonderful people together, to really have a support system for not only our youth, but also our homeless people, or just our working families itself. I'm on a mission to educate, to heal, and to support our communities. The more we smile, the better we live.
Events like this are highly of importance. I mean, it brings awareness to people that don't have this information or not really aware of what's happening out there. It brings people together from all aspects and really have that conversation, a real raw conversation, a human conversation, and how do we come together as a team, as a city, as a community.
Welcome. How you guys doing? I can't see you guys anymore. Good morning, good morning. So welcome to the many faces of public safety, a gathering of community voices. My name is Gordon Chavez. I serve as the president of the Lived Experiences Board of Directors. Such an amazing team to be able to work with, and Oscarin as well. Today we're gonna talk about mental health. Myself, I grew up in Oceanside. My wife and I are now raising our 4 boys in Oceanside. And we come together to do these kinds of things because we want them to have a better future, right? We don't necessarily invest enough in mental health. And so I wanna thank our sponsors because they're the ones that make this kind of thing possible for Lived Experiences to be able to serve you guys and be here today. So thank you so much to our sponsors. And what I'd like to do now is I want to bring up our first guest, I guess you could say, to do a land acknowledgement. We have tribal captain of the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians, Mr. Mel Vernon.
Thank you, Gordon. What a wonderful event. I didn't realize how big this was going to be till I got online to see this. It's amazing. I'm really honored and fortunate to be here. I was also born in Oceanside back then. Yeah, there you go. So a land acknowledgement. Many types of things cross my mind when I'm asked to do land acknowledgements. I'm the chairman, the captain called, in our tribe of the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians. We're the local Luiseños that are here. The Luiseño name came from the mission San Luis Rey. Before the mission, we were called Ataham, the people, or Payum Cowichim. So Luiseño's an easier title for us to run off there. But the land acknowledgement is really about the people. We're being here for 10,000 years, maybe 12. Right here in Oceanside. Can you imagine that? How wonderful living back then before all these freeways and everything. You want to go to the beach, you just go down there and hang out. But it's hard to grasp that, but that was the first community that was here. And saying that we're still here, the Luiseño people are still here and part of the community. And so this area we live in, and the territory of the Luiseño goes all the way up to Hemet in that area and all the way down towards Carlsbad and up in the mountains. This is the territory of our people where we lived and shared and brought up our children with the hopes and dreams of that time. And so this is our traditional territory. And that being said, have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing some of the speakers and I think the key word is positive, I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mel. Appreciate that. Before we move forward, I want to make sure that we thank our guest speakers that are joining us today. I want to thank all the volunteers that came together to be able to make this happen. One of the things that I believe in is that mankind is one, whether we realize it or not. And so raising our boys in Oceanside, for those of you that are from Oceanside, have probably, directly or indirectly contributed to the raising of our boys. And today, when we're talking about things like mental health, there may be times where we say things that may be hurtful to somebody, and we want to create an environment where everybody feels safe speaking their mind knowing that even if you feel like somebody said something that was hurtful to you, feel free to stand up, take a break. You know, that's the kind of environment we want to create, where everybody feels welcome and included, and speak your mind, because that's the only way that we're going to get the best results out of something like this. Now, beyond that, I wanted to also share a quote that Dr. Jaime Romo made me aware of at one point, and this is by a woman named Lila Watson. She is a Murray visual artist, activist, and academic, and the quote goes like this. I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up for you guys. "If you have come to help me, you're wasting your time. If you have come because your liberation is bound up in mine, then let's work together." And that's kind of what I want, you know, to see today. At least for me, I came here with an intentional purpose. And so now, moving forward, I want to introduce you. I have the honor to introduce you and bring up the mayor of Oceanside, Mayor Esther Sanchez, and our police chief, Fred Armijo.
Thank you. Good morning. Oscarin, hey. You did it. Hey, man, you did it. Well, I'm really, really proud to be here with many of you, our leaders here in Oceanside and beyond. Many of you specialists in mental health, and something that I'm so happy is being brought up, because this is very, very critical time for this kind of conversation and dialogue. I'll be handing you the mic pretty soon, Chief. You know me. Okay, so because he is a very, very important person to all of this, right? As we know. We all probably have, especially within the Latino community, have stories that we heard when we were growing up about something that happened in our families, like maybe grandma who was maybe put away for a little while because, you know, she had too many kids, or something about domestic violence, or something about alcohol-related or drug-related issues within our community that were all really, truly mental health issues, right? Because this is the way we coped as a community. It was a stigma to talk about needing help and reaching out for help for mental health. I'm sure we can all have these kind of stories, and I heard them. I remember when I was growing up, I loved reading and you know, talking, even then. My mom would watch me, especially my mom, because she thought, you know what, you're thinking too hard. You might develop a mental health issue, you know. But the way she said it was, no sé si debes de pensar mucho, mijita. Algo puede pasarte mentalmente, you know. And so I always wondered why she would say that, but I think that it was because of all these stories that, you know, we wondered how did this happen? And in Oceanside, I think the very critical thing, and we were just talking, the chief and I were just talking, about how do we have these kind of dialogues in public safety. And I think the most important thing is to be at the table. And this is you all being at the table, okay? And this is a hard thing for people who have, you know, either on boards and commissions or even city councils, you know, are trying to understand. It's like, why do we need this representation? Because we all have our stories, either individually or as a community or as a neighborhood. And those need to be discussed, those need to be heard, those need to be brought up, because how we advance as a community. And this is a wonderful North County, wonderful community of diverse from all over the world, some places because of Camp Pendleton, right, with young men bringing home, you know, wives from all over the world. I remember that growing up in the East Side. But being there and kind of insisting that, and once we do that in peacefully, but, you know, urgently, and with a lot of love, we need to be at the table, and we need to be able to bring up these kind of issues that we weren't able to do before. So as a community, as a representative of a community, and hoping to continue to learn from others about what we need to do to make things better for our community, to advance in all ways, including economically, because that is how we are going to become the best. right? The best community. So thank you very much. I look forward to all the conversations. And Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. So this morning I was thinking about this, and I hadn't really mentioned it before, but how many cities can you think of in which the mayor and the police chief graduated from the same high school in that very same city?
We are the best.
And I'm also proud to be the fourth person on this stage speaking from Oceanside, so that's pretty cool. The topic of mental health is something within my profession that is really, up until a couple of years ago, was very long overdue. Back in 2019, I had the opportunity to attend the FBI National Academy, and it's for those of you who don't know, it's for law enforcement executives. It's not to become an FBI agent. You go back and you're interacting with about 250 of your peers from around the world. Most of them are from the United States, but there's about 50 or so that come from other countries. And back then, the FBI was, a lot of the classes that were being offered centered on wellness, mental wellness, and health. And it's something that we're trying to do better at within our department. What many people probably don't realize is that when people call 911, they're not doing it to tell us they're having a great day. It's because it's one of their worst days. And so a lot of our interactions have to deal with folks that are in some kind of crisis. And that takes a toll on your first responders. And if you can imagine going from call to call to call where you're engaging with people who it's not their greatest day. They're having some kind of crisis that they're trying to manage through, and they're asking for our assistance. So we're trying to make more and more efforts to help our officers be able to kind of reset between each call so that they are fresh and not carrying so much baggage with them forward. But I can tell you there's a lot of work to be done. It's still one of those things where, you know, probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I would just keep still internalizing some of the things that we would encounter in the profession instead of talking about it. Just talking about it can be of such great value and release. So today's topic is, I think, so very important just for the entire community, but I wanted to share a little bit of insight with respect to I think it's the profession, but obviously I can only speak for our department. Another thing I was thinking about that I don't know if there are studies yet, but I would imagine 10, 20 years down the road there will be studies that this will be shown to be a significant contributor to poor mental health, especially when it comes to conflict resolution. So many people, I think, nowadays are turning to this device for conflict resolution versus just having that organic, in-person dialogue. And I hope people can realize that, especially those of us that are, well, my kids are raising themselves now as adults, but those of us have young ones, you know, pressing upon them, don't rely on this to engage in conflict, and definitely don't rely on it to resolve conflict. Have that in-person dialogue. So I think this is a great idea. I look forward to hearing the speakers today. And Oscarín, thank you very much for inviting me to say a few words this morning.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to step out here for a minute. I actually want to stand right here by this for a second. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited and ecstatic that you're here for a variety of reasons. I'm not from Oceanside. I'm feeling a little out of it right now. I'm from Los Angeles. Anybody from LA County? In the house, please. My son's here, my grandson, so they'll say yes. But just a reminder that love is the most powerful force in the universe, and that is why we're here, right? The heartbreaking path of the present we are not dealing with. We are moving forward. I told my son yesterday I'm taking all the energy that's out there, negative, all this craziness, and I'm using it for fuel, right? We are moving forward. I heard a great quote about 3 weeks ago that has really resonated with me and kind of carrying me through. The future is not in our hands, it is in our mouths. How we describe and define and explain things will determine how it lives in the world. And the language that we use is so important. All of you know that. So a few minutes ago, Gordon said some people might be triggered by some of the speakers today. Some of you might have a visceral reaction. We want you to feel safe and loved and known. And we have planned this conference so you have a chance to interact with each other, to talk, to network. We have a movable feast at lunch where we will be walking and talking together, not sitting down. But if something happens to you, reach out to someone, take a break, but know that we are here. Our intent is for every one of you to be a part of our collective today, okay? So give yourself a little hug right now. Give yourself a little hug and smile to the person next to you for a minute and say, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. And also tell them you're so glad they're here. So glad you're here. So glad you're here. Right? So glad you showed up. Most of life is really about showing up, right? A few minutes ago, we were back talking to the people that were working the sound booth, and we were talking about the importance of language. And I love the South African saying, Ubuntu, I am because you are. And the extension of that is, now that you are here, this community today is complete. So this is the community. We have time for the right kinds of conversations, and whoever is in the room today is the right person to have the conversation for today. It's going to be amazing. So we have sort of 3 things we want to happen today. First, we want you to hear the speakers. Some of them are going to be like a lightning bolt, some are going to be like a warm blanket, and some are going to extend your thinking. Next, we want you to interact. So we have a processing piece between each set of speakers, and we're going to ask you to turn around behind you, turn next to you, talk to the people around you so you're processing your thinking. Make sure that you're speaking and make sure that you're listening. The third thing is that you know that we are not trying to fix a problem today. We are about creating possibilities. We believe that the work that we are all engaged in is sacred work. We need no permission to do sacred work. We don't need to wait for anybody. We don't need a clock. We can do this work every day in our lives. So we want you to leave this conference thinking about what you can do around these topics. Okay, sound good? Beautiful. So let me give you a little overview of the day. When we have a group of speakers, it's 3 or 4 speakers will speak. After each person speaks, there's nothing, but at the end of the group of speakers, we will have a processing piece. We'll ask you to talk. The processing piece is timed, and the lights will go up so you can talk, and then they will flicker to remind you, just like the theater, it's time that we're coming back together, okay? So that's just sort of a housekeeping piece, okay? We have 3 amazing rounds of speakers, and then we have lunchtime. And lunch is going to be interesting. We have some sandwiches, we have some taco trucks, we don't know how wild it's going to be. We don't have tables, right? We want you to feel one with the people. There are a lot of people that never get to sit to eat. There are a lot of people that never get to eat. So it is a movable feast. We are going to walk around, we're going to network. We want you to be comfortably uncomfortable. I love Brian Stevenson, who, if you don't know him, he's an amazing equity person working in justice. He's from Alabama. He's amazing. And he says there are 4 things we need to have in place for real change to happen. First, we have to get proximate. We have to get close to the problem. And today we're talking about public safety and mental health. We got to get close, right? We have to be purveyors of hope. Hope is the most important thing. It is a guiding light. It is the star that we all go towards. The third thing we have to do is change the narrative. Use different language. Tell different stories, right? This is not the oppression Olympics, right? This is not ain't it awful. This is how are we helping our community to be the best we can be. And the last thing is be uncomfortable. As we grow and change, be uncomfortable. Especially white folk. We got to be way uncomfortable, okay? It's our time. It's our time. Don't you be laughing at me. You know it's true. So I'm very excited to turn it over to the first group of speakers. It's going to take a minute for them to get on stage, but we're going to bring them, first group of speakers on, and then they're going to they have lavalier mics. They're just going to stand and sort of speak to you, okay? But before we do that, I'm going to ask Jaime Romo to come up, and he's going to kind of do a grounding visualization piece between each time to kind of get us ready and centered, and then the first group of speakers will come up. So Jaime, all you, babe.
Thanks, Tony. Welcome, everyone. So I'm going to ask you just to imagine a few things, and as you feel connected to that topic, to take a breath and just squeeze your fist. And then we'll release, and we'll just do a few of these with the idea that if at any point you find yourself kind of feeling foggy or anxious, you just go back and squeeze and reconnect without even thinking about it. Okay? So the first one is just think of a time, imagine, connect to a time where you just felt loved. You can close your eyes if you feel that helps. If not, connect. And when you feel connected, hopefully, any time, just squeeze, take a deep breath, and open. Next, imagine time you just felt happy, whenever that was, wherever that was. Just call that to mind and how that feels. Squeeze, take a breath. Release. Okay. A time you felt safe, wherever that was. I asked a person recently and she said, the only time I felt safe, I was homeless, was in my car, wherever it was. Call that. Connect. Squeeze. Take a breath. Release. A time where you felt accomplished. You're brilliant. You've done a lot of things. Call one to mind. Connect with that. Squeeze. Take a breath. Release. And recall a time where you felt confident about whatever, however big and small thing that you do. And connect with that. Squeeze. Take a breath. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. So as we think about our community, which is all of San Diego County, we want to think about what we want to promise to our county. And San Francisco Bay, San Francisco, our city to the north, did an interesting little video called The Promise of the Bay. And we thought it would be a nice way to kind of frame the day and kick us off as we get thinking about how we want our community to look, what promise we want for our community. So in a minute, we'll be putting that video up. It's just a few short minutes, but very inspirational.
The truth of the matter is that we are courageous. If we weren't, we wouldn't be here. The honesty of our deal is that we are keepers of the golden, bridge builders to the world. We are the entire planet, every shade of human existence. We are an experiment in there and here and going and been and always in transit. In one blink at the area, you can see heavens and earth turn to see snow-capped mountains, revolve to see a zillion beads of water refract where ocean meets the bay. We speak every language. We eat all manner of crop. We thank our parents in every tone. It is good here. It is good here. We make and export self-actualization, compassion, ideas, engagement, hope. All that to say, we are worth protecting. We are worth engaging. We are worth the struggle it will take to make us our newest and best selves. Every hard conversation, every changed behavior, negotiation, protest, march, or affirmation, we are not done growing. At seeing what we wish was not there, at critiquing ourselves for the betterment of the world. We ain't perfect. We ain't chasing perfection. Ain't looking for hope overnight. What we want is equity. A fair shake for everybody who looks like us and everybody that doesn't. Not just for those who can afford it, but for everyone under the sound of this voice and everyone who doesn't hear too. What we want is access. We want amends. We want livable wages. We want food, bread, justice, land, as we've been calling for years. We want tired, poor, huddled masses. We want to give them safe space and sanctuary. We want all-night dance parties in the Mission. We want the green lush of Tilden. We want women to be safe. We want children to be safe. We want queerness to be exalted. We want our ancestors to be acknowledged, and we want our babies to be free. We know that this is risky conversation. We know that this is high stakes work. But as noted before, we are courage made manifest. We are bold by nature of our being. We are eons into this work and still just starting. We are hundreds of thousands and we are one. We are moving, pushing, thriving. Together, we ask the most courageous among us, the bravest in our midst, to join us.
Nice, 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 nice. So now we want you to turn to the people next to you, behind you, in front of you, however you want to speak, and think about what promises do we need to make to each other in our county, in our city. So a processing time, turn around, introduce yourself, talk to the people around you for a few minutes, please.